There it is. I am now bringing the airport advisory committee for Wednesday, November 8th, order. We are in order now. Our very first order of business is we will stand up and say pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. I will now call roll, but if you guys don't mind me departing from the written scriptures a second, because we have a new member, Donald Chick. Mr. Chick is brand new to the committee. Let's just go around and everybody say their name. I am Tom Reed, I'm the chair, and I'm with the Claremont group.
Jorge Rubio, Deputy Director of Airport Management. Welcome, Dr. Chief.
I'm David Reed, Program Manager and Noise Officer for the airport team.
Ray Richmond, Primary Aviation.
Andy Schwartz, Airport Manager, Brownfield.
Charlie Broadbent, Airport Manager, Montgomery.
Excellent. Let's go behind you.
I'm Carrie Hadley. Keisha Admin.
Hi, Keisha.
Andy Sluka, Sierra Side area.
Yeah,
Fairmont Project Police Administration.
thank you, Jeremy.
Red Soviet Spiders.
Okay,
Debbie Schreiber, Youth Administration.
and everything else.
Sherelle Lawson, Airports. We've had
Richard Brock, Community Representative with Sierra Mesa. Eddie Gordon, member of the AAC. Report, various airport.
Gary List, Brownfield, EA, Chapter 14. Ron Lee, Brownfield, Parachute Demonstration, and Drone Subject Matter.
And Chase Brown, we put in Mesa.
Wait, we passed up to do that.
Well, I thought
Dr. Don Chick, Tier Center Community Council.
And West Kent.
Oh, Ken, second, okay.
Member at large.
Ken, second. Candidacy on it. I didn't know you were a doctor. I did you a doctor too? No, thank you. Okay, so since we said everybody's name, let the record show that Tom, Gary, Ron, Dave Gordon, Rich Martindale is not here, right? Okay, Richard, Ron, Chase Ranson, and Dr. Donald Chick are presently in the forum. Okay, I have to read the part every single time, you guys. I'm so sorry. If you are in person, please complete a speaker slip located at the entrance to the southwest entrance and provide it to Mr. Reed that one in a timely manner to ensure proper meeting management. In-person testimony will conclude before virtual testimony begins. Members of the public can also join the webinar by computer, tablet, or smartphone by accessing the link which is listed online in the preamble language of the agenda. If you need to participate by telephone, you may dial 1-669-254-5252 and a webinar ID 160-060-0673. This information is also available on the agenda. Please note that if you're watching via online, there may be a delay. Please participate via the audio on your phone and mute your TV or computer when it is your turn to speak. If you wish to speak on a particular item, wait for that item to be called and then raise your hand to speak by tapping the raise your hand icon. Or if you are a call-in participant, *9 on your cell phone or landline. If you raise your hand during a non-comment period, your hand will be lowered. A quorum is now present. We are now on non-agenda public comment. And do we have any virtual people that want to talk about non-agenda?
Not at this time.
Okay. Non-agenda public comments, opportunity for members of the public comment on items that are not on the agenda, but within the subject matter of jurisdiction of this committee, and you get 3 minutes. Kent, did you want time, or are you just here to say it? Okay. All right, if public comment period is now open, but we have no takers, so we're going to move right along. Let's see. We are on item number 4. Approval of minutes. Has everyone had a chance to read the minutes that were submitted in the package? I did not find one spelling error. If anybody has any comment, we need a motion to approve the minutes. Okay, Ron Lee moves and Jay seconds. So we'll take the vote. All in favor of approval of the minutes? Raise your hands. Okay. All opposed? Any abstentions? One noted. Okay, so the minutes have been approved. That motion passes. Item number 5 is unfinished business. Do we have any unfinished business? I don't think we do.
Not at this point.
Okay, thank you. So item number 6 is new business, and that is the approval of the Airport Advisory Committee meeting calendar for the year 2024. So everybody had a chance to look at the calendar, and if you don't have any objections to the schedule, which is the same as it is always. Basically, second, no, that's right up there, yes, within a absence, like, we have a motion to approve the calendar. You're on a roll, Ron?
I'll second.
Yeah, it's been seconded by Chase, so all, take the vote, all in favor of approving the calendar for next year? All opposed? Any abstentions? Motion passes. We are now on item number 7, informational items. These don't require a vote. Do we have anybody on for informational items, or do you have any informational items?
Well, we have a staff report.
Of course you do. I'm sorry, I'm rolling. Director Rubio, please take it away. Let's hear from your fine staff.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. To start, this is the last meeting of the year. We had a light agenda, but beginning next year, I think we're gonna have a couple more items to begin with. Dr. Chick, again, welcome to the Airport Advisory Committee. We look forward to your input. I just have a couple of items to update you, and I'll pass you on to my staff. In regards to the acquisition of the fuel bowser for upgraded fuel, we have been working with the vendor trying to get all the information together. We're just waiting for insurance certificates from them. I spoke with them today, so we're just waiting for that information, and I think we'll be able to set up the purchase order, and we'll work on setting up a delivery date for us to get it here. And obviously, we are still working on what the contract would look like with one of our vendors on the field. I see that Brown Air is in the audience, so that's what we'll be working with, so that when we get here, we can try to minimize the time and try to get that delivery of fuel 94 to the field as soon as possible. Regarding the United Airlines Terminal hangar, I just wanted to let you know that we provided the information to the mayor's office. We met with them, and at the moment, we are just waiting to hear back. That's where that is. Also, last time I mentioned something about the zero emissions municipal building and operations policy that is in effect right now. The policy is in effect, but it will affect new lessees effective January 1st of 2024. We had 2 sessions. We didn't have too many participants from the airports, but there were actually some participants from other city facilities. We provided a lot of good information, but one of the things that we will be doing is we will be sharing the PowerPoint presentation with everyone. And the other thing that we're going to be doing is those videos were actually recorded, so you will have access to those as well. We're just trying to get some live links with the Department of Sustainability and Mobility, and we will be sharing those with you. You also, I just wanted to remind you, you were provided with some training videos that are due December 1st. Just make sure that you look at them and let us know. We have to provide those videos back to the Office of Boards and Commissions, and that is the video for the California Records Act training and the Ralph M. Brown Act training. Staffing changes. So, as you know, we were looking to get new operations assistants coming onto our field for Montgomery, Gibbs, and Brownfield. We have had close to, I would say, 30 applicants that we are moving the majority of them to interviews, and that's going to be happening next week. So if for any reason you're trying to get a hold of and for some of our staff, we're going to be using those interviews, but I just wanted to let you know it's going to be a heavy week for us next week. Regarding the program coordinator, the person that will be working with David, trying to get our projects moving along, and they will provide some information about the projects that we have going on. That person will be starting with us on November the 27th. The person has accepted the offer, so we just coordinated a start date. And once that information is made public, I'll be sharing that name with everyone, and I think you'll be pleased because all of our ramps and runways and everything else is going to be handled a little bit quicker than what we usually do. Additionally, and this is something that I think we probably need to meet on later on, but I wanted to put a bug in your ear. We did meet with the FAA regarding our airport capital improvement program for the projects that will be happening at Montgomery Gibbs and Brownfield. At this moment, the FAA is not expecting huge amounts of money to give out, and they have some regulations in the books that says what qualifies and what doesn't qualify. So in our meeting, we were told that the FAA is now excluding some runways that they call additional runways, depending on their use. If they're used less than 5%, they are not paying for reconditioning of those runways. In the case here at Montgomery Gibbs, that's a runway 523. So we have to talk about future of 523 at some point. And then at the Brownfield, that the runway is 8 right, 26 left. The FAA is not looking to pay for the condition of that runway. These were tough conversations. We're not the only ones that are dealing with these issues. There's other airports in the nation that they mentioned, and just wanted to make sure that they were providing us with the right information. So I did call those airports, and they are going through the same struggles. So there's the airport improvement handbook. That's where they have the definitions for those runways, and that's where you see what airports will be getting priority and what projects could get priority. But anyway, that's the project that we have to figure it out. I think in the case of, not to make a discussion about this, but in the case of Brownfield, there may be an opportunity to maybe turn that into a taxiway if they really don't want to. But that's those are ideas that will be coming up in the future and presenting to this body so we can have a meaningful discussion on that topic.
And Jorge, you said the benchmark is 5%. They have to be used 5% of the time.
It's a little more complicated than that, but yes, definitely less than 5%, more than 5%.
Do you know the number off the top of your head for 523?
It's less than 5%.
No way. What if we just started using our scale?
Well,
Oh, it's Tuesday.
So it's a little more complicated than that. So, at Montgomery Gibbs, we're really busy. So you have primary runways, secondary runways, and what they call additional runways or runways that were, with the eyes of the FAA, were overbuilt, the airports were overbuilt. So the capacity, and don't quote on this, but it's about 200,000 annual operations that I would like to see at an airport for a runway. So if your airport does not have 200,000 annual operations, then the other runways kind of like dwindle down. At Montgomery Gibbs, you've got 300,000. So you have the primary runway, you have the secondary runway, which is along the left, and then the crossing would be the additional. At Brownfield, the story is a little bit different. We don't have 300,000 annual operations, we have about 100. So we're short about 100,000 operations at Brownfield. And that with the fact that the other runway gets used less than 5%, it makes it for a difficult conversation. So we will be bringing all of that information forward so that we can discuss it a little bit.
Fortunately, I think 523 is in pretty good shape right now.
It is.
So, yeah. Right.
So you said one option is maybe turn it into taxiway. We turn it into taxiway with the FAA pay to improve it.
It would qualify for
So we turn it into taxiway and then turn it back into a run.
There you go.
that's a possibility.
Possibility. May I ask a couple more questions?
Sure.
The climate action report that we sent out, when I went through that, I did not think that really applied too much to tenants with metal heading, right? Okay, so we don't have to change it. As far as the training links go, since we've been reappointed, we have to do retraining. I think I know the answer to this, that yes, but we've already taken it for the previous term.
So this is an annual thing that the Board of Commissioners is trying to do.
Okay.
So they just requested that everybody goes through the training. Because what happens is sometimes we forget about processes and procedures, so it's just a good reminder. So we're on the same page.
Call it continuing education.
There you go.
There it is. Okay, thank you. Any other questions for Director Rubio?
Not, I'll continue with staff. So let's just go from left to right, from my left. Andy Schwartz, Brownfield Info Manager, please.
Good afternoon. So last month we were 4 foot shy of 9,000 operations. We're 8,996 operations. Projects done completed last month. Powerline came into the mow, that's been completed. We did some refreshment of the taxiway markings, runway markings, that was completed. We also did a sweep of the airfield as well. And then also we've got one project that's happening right now in the airfield, the tower parking lot. And that should probably wrap up in the next couple of weeks. We'll be pouring asphalt this week, so that's due to completion. And then we have Key Ford has been down well, off and on for the last month. So we're working on getting that fixed on that in the next couple of weeks. That's what's been going on. Any questions? No?
Thank you, Andy.
What I would have to add is, Andy, for the first time ever, he has 2 grounds maintenance workers working together now, and now they've mostly caught up with a lot of the maintenance work that they needed to do. So we're happy to see that at Brownfield. Charles Broadbent, the program manager for Montgomery Gibbs.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. There were over 32,000 operations in October. Operations is really short staffed right now, so there's no ops personnel on the weekends. We'll be conducting interviews for vacant operations assistant positions and utility worker 2 positions in the next upcoming weeks, as Jorge had mentioned as well. Senior airport operations assistant Jerome Magner resigned. There's new signage that's been ordered to replace damaged signage and then signage that was faded. So that'll be installed once we receive that. And there's a purchase order that's processing to fix some of the asphalt on the mid-port ramp area. And so that will be addressed. Staff has fixed some of it temporarily with Rockland and some road soup, which is a cold mix. And that's pretty much it for now.
My understanding was it was the busiest month ever for Montgomery last month.
Yeah, I haven't seen 32,000 operations in a long, or ever, yeah.
Yeah,
So, very busy.
To jump ahead about air traffic control report, because Brian's not here, but I heard not only did they have the busiest month, but then they beat they broke the record on October 29th with 2 days left in the month. They also had the busiest day ever with more than 1,500 operations. Yeah, so wow.
Yeah, they're cranking them out.
Yeah, it was up 22%, and you know, I can just draw a correlation between the nicest October we've had in a long time, and guess what? The most operations. I think they're related.
Yeah, definitely. A lot of VFR traffic.
Yes. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Yep.
All airplanes, particularly trainers, so they're flying ridiculous. So I've never seen this.
You know what the +1 flight count was for?
I don't. All 4 of my listeners use $1,100. That's it. All I think of it.
Wow.
The ED said it was 5,200 hours.
5,200
for October.
Wow. No, Dr. Shea, in case you don't know, +1 is the largest flying club in the world, actually, but it obviously here, and there's 100 airplanes generally in and out of the club, and then there's 2,500 members. There's a tremendous amount of flight training, other operations, general aviation operations, angel flights, all that through the club. So as the airport goes, the club goes, as the club goes, the airport goes. So it's kind of interesting. The other 2 major players here are Coast Flight. They have all the airplanes over the west end. They're in constant operation, and then there is CTAB, right? ATP, yeah, so 6 or 7 very good flights goes here. So not to mention that there's Piper Cubs flying around, Learjets, King Airs, all kinds of different traffic. So it's not just the volume of the traffic, it's the complexity of the traffic. and the world's best air traffic controllers here. They have to be. So, all yours.
Now we're gonna go with, Mr. Pharmacologist, supervising property agent for airports.
Good afternoon, ladies. Give you the real estate update. The San Diego Airport project, that long awaited project, the team is expected to break ground on the NFBO production schedule. We are still, airport is still working, the attorney's office, and the sheriff's department to gain possession of the RV, so we still haven't completed that process there yet. The new hotel operators are in. We met with them yesterday and we began discussing regarding the recapture of partial fee. If you remember, there was a 4.5 acre parcel on the west end of the property that we are looking to take back and use for city purposes. So we'll be meeting with them over the next few days, weeks, to basically work out an agreement to amend their lease so that we can have portions of that back. And they are offering to give us property addition to the 17 acres where they had the golf course back to the city as part of that resolution. The lease with the San Diego Community College District is being processed at City Council. You would like the council meeting and the land use and housing meeting for December at the council. Those items would be presented in January. We've completed a sublease for the sheriff department, the San Diego Fire Department, to lease a hangar for their Firehawk helicopter that's actually within the Crown Air lease hall. Corporate Helicopters is still working with DSD to process their plans for their proposed development. And once they have got some approvals from DSD, we'll be looking to work with them to finalize the NEPA documents to submit to the FAA. We'll also be working with them and with Crown Air on lease amendments to basically get portions of the triangle that they will need for sewer facility utilities and things like that. So we'll be working out an arrangement with the executive airport actually and corporate helicopters on amending their lease. The staff is working with purchasing and contracting to release an RFP for property management service. We have a meeting scheduled with purchasing and contract on the 14th to get a schedule for this project and determine when they're going to be take over the management of those buildings. We're processing 8 new leases or lease renewals for the existing retail tenants to council for approval. Again, we'll be going to council in January. We're looking to solicit bids for refurbishing the parking lot at the retail center. I hope we get that accomplished early next year. We'll be negotiating 3-year leases for the existing non-city office tenants in the office building. We've got that appraisal completed, and we'll be having those discussions with those tenants in the next few weeks. Lot A, the electrical work is continuing. It should be completed sometime in the next few weeks. When that is completed, we'll have 3 cutout spots and 3 hangars. 3 hangars available for lease. Airport is also negotiating an MOU with Parks and Recreation to use the vacant land parcel at 9485 Arrow Drive. We've got to further back on that to move forward with that. But that is the project summary for real estate. I'll be happy to answer any questions. Mr. Reed.
Who are the new hotel operators?
They're called Alps Hospitality Incorporated. They have they develop hotels in Carlsbad, and they also have hotels in Milpitas. Yeah, and we toured it yesterday, and we're quite impressed with the improvements that they made just since they've been there in June, end of May, June. So
And one more question, sir. Tell me again about the helicopter. So these the fire rescue helicopters that have been sitting out.
The Firehawk
Yes.
it's actually been in a hangar. That is it's with a Zero, with corporate helicopters, with a sublease of Crown Air. I think it's 4,500 square feet.
Okay, yeah, I know it's really.
It's a 50 lease.
Right.
They've already.
Yeah, they're waiting for theirs to be completed, so once they're completed, they'll be able to leave that space.
The fire captain told me that they had to spend $400,000 on a new main rotor well ahead of its maintenance schedule because it's been sitting outside its entire life. So that goes on to the engineer, but
Okay,
thank you.
Mr. Lee.
Quick question, you mentioned, I think, down in Brownfield, they're gonna put shovels into the ground sometime in January, February, where are they gonna start that? Where on the airport?
Well, the JFBO is located, basically between EAA and the terminal building. So that's where the FBO is going.
Do you have any idea when, the area, it's on the south side of, I should know this name of the street, is it?
Britannia,
Um,
that intersection,
well, where the Navy parachute team hangar is, the Navy hangar and the Taggart hangar, the other side of the road. The area on the other side of that road where right now the scavengers land for,
Sikorsky.
Sikorsky. That's it.
okay.
So, do you know when they're gonna take possession of and start working on the area south of Sikorsky?
No, I don't,
There is no definite date on that at the moment. They're actually looking to potentially change the land use designation a little bit. But it is supposed to be part of the 15-year order. It's going to be sooner than that. I can tell you it's going to be sooner than that because that's, I think, where the developer sees the money.
Yeah, so the reason I ask is because there's a tandem operation over there now, and the Navy parachute team jumps there, we jump there on occasion, and just trying to get an understanding of what our future is, all of us, in utilizing that property down the road, how soon everyone has to start considering other locations for the.
We're constantly talking about that because we're aware that we still users jump at that location. So once we have a more defined date, we'll definitely engage with the teams in those conversations.
Thank you.
Mr. Boyle.
Yeah, Taylor on Tom's question about the owners of the hotel. Is there a brand of hotel that they're gonna be tied to? Or
That's the type of Marriott.
Marriott, okay.
Yes, sir.
You mentioned a lease for progress with the Parks and Rec.
Yeah.
Are we going to see some recreational facility or what's happening?
But they're gonna actually move their offices in the trailer adjacent to that vacant lot that we own. So they have to go through right now refurbishing those larger trailers to make use for their staff. So it's gonna be administrative.
Oh, administrative.
Yes. No further questions?
Thank you, Mr. Hart.
Thank you.
Director Revere, do you have any other staff?
The last update, I guess, I don't know, David, if you want to provide an update about the mayoral election? or-
Sure. So we processed the mayoral action for the repairs to Flat Top Marigold, Taxiway Bravo and Charlie. So that's been approved. We are currently trying to put together the purchase order so that we can issue payment and then schedule the work. So we're right there. We're just running into a technical code issue in setting up the purchase order. But my hope is we can get the work at least scheduled by hoping next week we can start talking to them about getting the work scheduled. Exactly, but we're pushing this ahead. We're right at the finish line. Once we can get this coding issue resolved, we can then start talking to the contractor about actually scheduling the work. We'll also issue notice to tenants once we have a game plan of when they're gonna be paving down those hangar alleys so that people will know they can move their aircraft. We may need to hang on to those spots that are coming free.
Oh, the 3 hangars?
Yeah, because if people in those hangars need access to their aircraft, because those hangars may not be available for 3 days, 4 days, depending on the work to be done.
There's always transit.
That as well, but
And a lot of the aircraft that are in might not fit.
Yes, and then the smallest hangars.
Those are pretty
okay.
28. 38 foot.
What's lot 8 called then?
City Hangar West.
City Hangar West, sorry. I'll have to get-
Yeah, I mean,
Put that in
I,
my brain.
I think that that's a very noble suggestion that I would just say to the people over there in Marigold. Transient, 3 days, deal with it.
We're trying to be as, we're trying to be as accommodating as possible. If
Yes.
that's an option to have that available, we'll have that available.
And many of those aircraft don't move every 3 days, so they'll be fine. That 3 days is fine. I would just want that page so bad. Maybe off track. We could probably help with some. Wow, that's all.
That finishes our update.
Fantastic, Director Rubio. So we are now on to item 7C, which is other reports. Do we have any committee comments on other reports? Any virtual members? No public comment on?
Not at this
other
time.
reports? Okay, and now moving on to committee comments. Does anybody have any committee comments before we adjourn? Yes.
I would like to look at the noise page.
Sure.
So this is your community talk. Claremont is up to charts with 45 noise complaints. Does that relate or correlate directly with the number of flight operations or what's going on with the schools this past month?
I would bet it has to do with the number of flight operations.
If I could just speak to that a little bit, it could be as part of the increased operations, but you'll notice at the table below as well, you can see those complaints were only for 2 individuals in that community, particularly being one of them, being the majority of those complaints. or
One
concerns.
particular individual complains over and over and over.
Right, and it was particularly on a couple of days for pretty much almost every operation taking off. Just to put some context behind that large spike there. Those concerns are always valid. We look into each and every one of them, but
Every now and then I get a phone call and typically, I just recently received a phone call from a gentleman and he asked, "Am I right here? Is there a lot more noise than there used to be?" And I said, actually, there's a slight, I gave him the numbers, slight increase in the operations annually. But I said, "Is there any change in your life?" He says, "Yeah, I just retired. I'm home all day." So this was going on while you were at work, you just didn't know. Very well. I said,
we do-
there is an increase, but it's not.
we do run into that, and the work from home that has been across all industries now has also played a factor.
We are.
A comment I thought of is, I get, every once in a while I get letters from the airports because my airplanes do a lot of flying. I got a letter from Torrance, noise monitoring, city of Torrance. And we, saying we're gonna ban your airplane. And we assume the owner is the one flying it. If it's not the owner, we demand that you tell us who the pilot was. And there's no email address, there's no return mail address. There's a phone number which I called and all I got is a recording. And so I called the airport operations. They had no idea who this guy was from the city. So some other department of the city. So my comment is, you guys are doing a much better job than the city of Torrance.
Well, thank you. I'm familiar
At least
with
we can
their.
get a hold of you.
I'm familiar with their policies. They are very strict over there.
And if I can say a little bit something about the air traffic control system, they're trying to introduce for the smaller airplanes, the inside pattern, which is not official, but it means that we turn it to freeway so that we don't go over the Royal Highlands. And we turn inside of the 15, so we just stay basically away from the residential areas. It's helpful for them for 2 reasons. One is if you have these smaller, slower airplanes way out over the golf course and somebody faster comes in behind them, it creates a problem. The second thing is if they go out too far to the west, departing aircraft run into them, eat them up because they're going so slow. So this inside pattern hopefully will reduce the noise footprint.
And one of the things we see with increases in traffic, especially during peak times, is that pattern starts to creep out a little bit for traffic separation.
Yeah.
So sometimes we get those concerns from people who aren't used to seeing that amount of traffic all the time. And typically during the summer, fall, when the weather's nice, not a lot of wind, and it's cooler, we tend to see more flight operations as we did in October.
And just to agree with you on that, on Q30, I landed my Cirrus, I was number 5, the 28 left. I was following traffic that was turning base north of San Diego State, so that's how stretched out it got. And they sent 2 guys around in of those 5 that were in that town because they got too close to each other.
One of the things that, one of the phenomena is coming on Sunday, I won't mention the name of the flight school. A couple of flight schools, their flight instructors, they're almost in West Bravo. Past the golf course. That's not because towers telling them, they're just flying monstrous 747 patterns. Because I think they're all new.
They're manifesting the 747.
They're inexperienced flight instructors who don't know any better. And they're gonna get more noise complaints because of.
All right.
They're billable hours.
Yeah, yeah, I have 2, this, partially from a conversation that I was having with the Montgomery Air Traffic Control, but one was, my understanding is the FAA came out and did a survey to put in a 10 left approach. And we are prepared to have a 10 left approach, but we just need to paint the appropriate markings on 10 left. Are you at all aware of this, Jorge?
Something that came up, and I don't think it's as simple as what you mentioned. I can go in and recap what our conversations were. Charlie, do you recall that?
Well,
I-
I do recall it, I think that the markings were gonna, like, if you do paint those precision markings on that end of the runway on 10 left, it almost. Runs into the existing precision markings that are for 28 right, so. I think there was kind of an issue with that, wasn't there?
Yeah, and it's a little bit more complicated also with putting it on our ALPA master plan. We would essentially have to repaint the entire runway for that issue, because we'd be adding threshold markings, the threshold bar, which then pushes your numbers further down the runway, along with your midpoints, aiming points, and changes your center line distances as well. And I believe I'd have to dig into the history of it. I think there were a few other complications
There were other concerns.
in implementing that. We were hoping at one point to include it in another project that the FAA decided they were not going to pay for. But we haven't really revisited that since.
Gosh, because that'd be great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There would be more noise complaints if that was an actively used approach, but it's kind of necessary in a lot of different instances that there is one there.
Yeah.
What's your other comment?
The other question I had is, I'm curious why, talking about Brown on 26 left versus Montgomery's 28 left, why don't we have lights on 28 left?
That's a VFR runway, so in the past, they actually put solar lights there while they were working on 28 right. And the FAA demanded that we remove those lights when the project was done for 28 right. It's a VFR runway and it is unlit. I mean, it's.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
FAA doesn't have any more money, I guess, for us.
So what I can tell you is we can potentially talk to the FAA about grant funding and getting it. It may not be immediate, but we can try,
I think it can be wise. I mean, we talk about all the ops at Montgomery. I will tell you, coming out here at sunset and then post sunset, they will shut down the pattern because there's just no more space on 28 right. And so having lights on 28 left from a safety perspective.
Well, also, if you end up with a disabled airplane.
That was my other comment, yeah.
I don't know if this ever got to you guys, but about a month ago, one of my airplanes had a flat tire in 28 right. After the tire was closed, putting officers were in. I was out there changing the wheel at midnight.
Wow. Yeah, well, you can use 28 left at your own risk. Is that
Yeah.
correct?
That's always true, yes.
And you have to ask for permission and to say at your own risk and which, since there's no edge lighting, I would say, I don't know what to get nobody done it.
I mean, from the perspective of being the second busiest, VFR tower in the country, seems to make sense to have another lit runway.
A few years ago, when bright lights were off for some reason, I guess you're concerned. I landed there twice at night. And with the lane lights on, there were reflectors. Almost equal to runway lights.
Really?
Yeah, so my point is that was on 2/8 right, but without the lights on, I had my landing lights on. The reflectors were, in my eye, view, just as good as landing lights for perspective and out, everything. So, maybe on the left, 2/8 left, we just have reflectors.
So we actually use type 3 bits, which is an FIA spec that provides that protectivity. So that's the markings that we use all over here. They're all the same. They're just different colors, maybe, but they're all the same.
So they're already out.
The 2/8 left has the same.
Right.
Oh, yeah,
Great.
might just try that.
Let's try it.
See what happens.
Yeah. Over it.
I've landed a few times into
But that was a turn, so yeah, it's just the tower was go.
But I appreciate those suggestions. Those are great. So we'll take them and we'll look for them. See what we can do.
Last call for comments for the committee before I hit the gavel. Go ahead, Ken.
Just a question. Mr. Rubio mentioned that there was communication from his office to the city, or to the mayor's office. You know, what's the nature of that communication?
We talked to give them a briefing on the United Arms Terminal matter. That was the discussion. And there, to get from there, we're just waiting to get back.
What was that?
It's not an item on the agenda, so I don't know if I'm able to discuss it right now. But we talked to them, we gave them a briefing, I provided them with the same information that was provided to this group. That was it.
You said there's a bunch of guys that want this hangar there.
Yes. Right? Yeah, that's what I said.
They were told what the vote was of this committee.
Correct.
Okay, good. We are adjourned. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you.